discussed that had to do with the president's daughter and her rebuttal, Edwina's rebuttal. Yes, I think that she's welcome to the game. She's welcome to the fray. And it's interesting that she's going to want to go issue a statement. Then she should be prepared to issue a lot of statements. I mean, in the past 8 years, nobody, she says that this is rumor mongering. In the past 8 years, nobody has been a worse rumor monger than her father, who today is the president of the republic.
What did he say? What did the president who was then in opposition say today that which today you'd say is not true?
Do you think that the blood that flows through Edwina's veins are different from the blood that flows through Lordina Mahama's veins?
But if at the time the then opposition leader said all the things that he said, which you are saying aren't true,
because he didn't provide a shred. You know, I'm just using Edwina's own benchmarks and yardstick. She says that there's no shred of evidence. We must adduce evidence until evidence is adduced. There must be a retraction and apology. Did her father apologize to Lordina Mahama when he stood in Brongahafo and said that she was in charge of distributing contracts? Did he adduce any evidence to that? Her party, the party her father led, the attacks on Ibrahim Mahama, in government and out of government, continues. The attacks on appointees of state without any shred of evidence. Where was she? Why didn't she advise her father? I mean, the sins of the father will be, the Bible says the sins of the father will be visited on the children and on the grandchildren's children, even up to the 4th generation. And so her father has sowed seeds that she's reaping. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do, but I think that if you come from a tradition or home where your father has been a monger-in-chief, a rumor monger-in-chief, you cannot for the life of me want to cry foul. I mean, she just has to grow tough skin and prepare for these things, because I mean, she's just harvesting in the seeds of the tree or that her father planted.
Sam, she's threatening to take legal action against everybody who makes
she's free.
Unsubstantiated allegations against her. She's threatening to do that, and it doesn't appear that it's discouraging you from sort of, going on the same tangent, even though you haven't said anything specific about it, but you're saying she's welcome. What do you mean she's welcome to do what? She's welcome to where? She's welcome to the world of politics. I mean, she cannot expect that what her father did to other Ghanaians will not do to her. Okay, so she should be ready for these things. I mean, if she really wants to be issuing rejoinders, then she needs to get a whole lot of paper and pen, because this is going to happen very frequently. Because I mean, it's going to happen because her father did it, and so people are going to, the measure by which you measure for others or you judge others is the same measure by which you'll be judged. So is there some kind of a tit for tat?
Well, I can't state that I don't. For me, it's a simple matter that I read it in the media, and when I read it in the media, the first response I gave my first reaction was, wow, what goes around comes around. Okay, what her father was doing just 6 months ago, 8 months ago, is coming back to haunt the daughter. And why is she complaining? I mean, if she has anyone to blame, it's her father.
Would you tell anybody who you've seen sitting somewhere and wanting to create or concoct some of these things about the first family, would you discourage them from doing the same, or you won't, because you just you tell the person that good luck, my brother, because they did it to us when we go?
I'm not going to arrogate to myself the position of a moral police. I'll leave everybody to take whatever decision they think is right by their conscience.
But you weren't happy when the same was done to you, Samuel.
Oh, absolutely, and so I would always stand up and defend myself. And so if same is being done to her, and the point I'm making here is that I'm a politician, and so I mean, when people throw all kinds of things out at me, I expect it as part of the game. I mean, today she enjoys the largesse of politics. Okay, she doesn't drive regularly again. She's got state protection. She's got vehicles. I mean, those things don't come without being part of government. Okay, so you can't have I mean, governance and being part of government is a credit.
The fact that she's enjoying state protection,
she's the president's daughter.
So she's got
it's standard operating procedure.
Right.
She's the president's daughter. I've been in government before. She is not going to walk around. She's now an asset of the state as the president's daughter. And so when she enjoys the benefits of being in government, she should expect also some of the flack that comes in being in government, especially when her father is President Akuffo, who had been the chief rumor monger in this country.
But if you read the statement, she also mentions that it's all because, when you lose out on the plot on the matter, you lose the argument. You'd only resort to concocting stories just to, how do you call it, just to tarnish the reputation of persons who you believe will serve some kind of a political, purpose for you. And that's that is what persons who are involved in this are doing. You've lost it. I mean, you've lost the argument on the boss matter. So now you want to rope in the daughter.
Well, honestly, I think that politics is not the forte of Edwina. I mean, it's not her field, and she should stay away from it. I mean, the more she gets engrossed in it and tries to pontificate on it, the more she exposes her ignorance of the issues. Any fair-minded person who's followed this boss issue, in fact, the senior people who are in the NPP who are gobsmacked, they're disgusted by the very things that are coming out in this boss issue. Nobody would assume or make a fair judgment and say that on this boss matter, there are no questions to answer, and that the NDC or the opposition is losing the argument or the debate on the cover-up in the boss issue. So if that is her reading, with all the facts and all the truths that are coming out, every time the government side puts out something, the evidential proof comes out to contradict their position. I mean, take for example, they said that the contamination happened on the 18th, and that it happened on the 18th, and Mr. Alfred Obing was appointed on the 25th. That's what we're told by the government side. Then a memo from the minister to boss surfaces that says that Mr. Alfred Obing took office effective 17th of January. So, I mean, every time they throw something out in defense, they go around, scramble and look for something. Always there's evidential fact to show that the government is lying, the ministry is lying, boss is lying, there's a cover-up somewhere. And so if Edwina, after all of this facts, I mean, the best she could do was to just keep quiet, keep mute on this matter.
The communicators of this government have said it time and again that all that the NDC is doing is to try and find a way of sort of painting this administration black and being corrupt and incompetent and so on. But it's not washing. Because it did to you. You are hell bent. You are so desperate to paint this administration as corrupt, but they are not corrupt because there's no any shred of evidence to suggest that they are corrupt.
Well, I mean, you don't need to struggle to paint this administration corrupt. The administration is corrupt. It's corrupt from the very top.
It's only 6 months.
And that is what even gives us cause for worry. Because if you hear some of the things that are going on, and you see at Bost, there's several other scandals that are brewing there. You see, we don't want to muddy the waters.
Oh, you have some other things?
Oh, there are loads of scandals.
Really?
And I can tell you, there's a $130 million scandal also at Bost.
$130
million US dollar scandal.
Oh, no,
US dollars.
Scandal.
Yes. Where products were brought in without the requisite approval from NPA. And when NPA stopped the product from being discharged, a call came from the Flagstaff House because the boss MD called somebody at the Flagstaff House and the product was given all clear against NPA's own approvals. I mean, like I said, there's a lot going on in this government that we're aware of. We can sit on Bost for 2 years and show you the rot there in the last 6 months. And we can go sector by sector by sector. On this Bost issue, mark my word, you haven't even heard 50% of the information we have. The detailed information with evidence that we have. That's why anytime we put out something, the minority puts out something, and the the government tries to push back, we produce and adduce evidence and say, look, this is it, you're lying. And every time they have to scramble and look for something again. And I'm telling you, this is just one leg of it. There's several other things going on there. I mean, look, talk to anybody at Bost and ask them what has been the financial propriety going on at the accounts department, how monies are being moved out at Bost, how payments are going. You remember, and these are things we've seen previously in previous administration, where they set up groups like Prim, Blow, and Rapid Responders, where they were taking monies out from the I think it was the Tort Debt Recovery Levy, and were using it at the Ministry of Information at the time. Bost is doing similar now. And so there's evidential proof of monies being moved out to meet with serial callers and all kinds of things. I mean, we will get there.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, that when we say there's corruption, massive corruption, that this country is bleeding. I mean, people want to pontificate and say, oh, you were corrupt in government, all based on allegations. Okay, we are adducing evidence to show you how corrupt they are.
We're waiting for that evidence. Up until we get that evidence, we want to treat this as mere allegation.
Well, on the bust issue, we've shown you there's no mere allegations. We've shown evidential proof.
I'm talking about the
$130 million. We'll get there.
Okay. How is Ningo Pram doing?
Well, we thank God. 6 months.
First of all, but you won your seat, but your party lost the elections and lost it quite badly. You're one of those who was absolutely confident that your party, there was no way that the current president was then opposition was ever going to win an election in this country. I don't know how that made you feel. So you win your seat, but the party is in opposition, and then we look at the figures, there was nothing to write home about. The Kwesibotwe report is out. I do know that you wouldn't want to tell us, even if you've seen a copy of it, you wouldn't want to share because it's a matter of policy. Nobody's supposed to share the content of it. But in your own, small way as a politician, somebody who's been worked at the Flagstaff, you work closely with the president and so on. We'll talk about your constituency, but in your own small way, from what you've also analyzed and observed based on your observations, what happened, Sam George? And it's just your opinion. 2016
elections were there were something that it was an election that one will find it very difficult, especially when you sit where I sit, to give just a simple explanation. I think it was a potpourri of issues. There were various contributing factors. People got complacent. People thought that we had won. I admit to the fact, being part of the executive at the time, that there appeared to have been a certain disconnect with our base. I also admit...
But you knew there was a disconnect with base. What did you do about it? Anyway, we'll come up with that. Complacency, there was a disconnection.
There was complacency, there was disconnection at the base. Okay. There was also the usual problems of being in power, which is the fact that a lot of people come and say the things that they think you want to hear and don't really tell you the truth. Right. Again, there was the issue of incumbency. There was an incumbency disadvantage. We'd done 8 years, 2 terms in government already. In this fourth Republican dispensation, nobody had gone beyond that. I believe that there were a number of other issues. There are a couple of other issues that may have affected us, which I would not want to discuss on public radio. But I think that broadly, these were some of the issues that affected us. The fact that even though the candidate himself was extremely connected to the campaign, he was extremely fixated on the campaign. In fact, he gave more and above what any of us on the campaign trail ever tried to do. The campaign was bigger than just him. It was bigger than just one person, and so, irrespective of the fact that he gave off his best, maybe those of us around him may not have given off as much as he gave, and that is a flaw we all have to accept.
I've heard some older chaps within your party say that the former president surrounded himself with too many young people. You're a young man. There's Standobe, there's Omane Boama, there's quite a number of other people. There's Felisoku Fusukwachi. You guys were the ones who were in charge. You were the guys who were running the show. You were the ones who the president was listening to. He wasn't listening to the Chikates, the Ahoys, the Baba Kamares. He wasn't listening to the chief of staff and all of these, the older folks basically who were, you would expect that because of their wisdom and experience and everything. Were you the guys who were running the show of the presidency?
Again, a lot of hearsay. I mean, hearsay, rumors, let me borrow Edwina's words, rumor mongering. You couldn't be farther away from the truth. The president himself was somebody who had an appreciation of experience and youth, because the president himself had come in from a position of being a very young man when he was appointed as Deputy Minister for Communications under President Rawlings. And many of the people he had seen work around President Rawlings, who had started with President Rawlings in the PNDC days, where actually some of them were younger than we were, or as young as we were when we went in there. I know that somebody like my senior, Laji Sulemana, who at a point in time was Minister for Roads, later became, I think, Upper West Regional Minister. I mean, he basically did his national service as a minister, regional minister. He was plucked right from tech and appointed as a regional minister by President Rawlings. I mean, Uncle Totobi Kwache, you know, fantastic man, full of experience. But when they came into government in the early days of the PNDC, how old was he? He was, I think, somewhere around 30 years, or even less than that. Uncle Atua Hoy. I mean, these were all people who, at that time, were in their late 30s. I've always said that if that category of people, that generation, could bring Ghana from the doldrums where Ghana was in 79 and 81, and let's not forget that at that time they had no senior people to look up to. There was no previous government to go to and seek advice from. But they could move Ghana from where it was to where Ghana became, or where they handed over in 2001, and we have Ghana today. And you pick this young crop of people that you've mentioned, and we have the benefit of having worked under and being tutored by many of the senior godfathers. Why shouldn't we be able to do the work? I mean, and I think that it's part of the reasons why, for the first time in the history of this country, you saw, since Kwame Nkrumah, you saw the most rapid infrastructural development of this country. There were huge successes chalked under this administration. I mean, today, thanks to, it was a move started by President Mills, and President Mahama continued, because many of us came into government under President Mills.
But if that's the case, why have this current crop become the center of conversations about why the NDC lost the elections? What is it about you guys?
Victory has many friends.
Okay.
Defeat has orphans.
Right.
Is an orphan.
Right.
Many of those guys who have been mentioned were very much around President Mahama in the 2012 campaign. Many of them did not come. Many of them did not come around President Mahama only in 2016. Many of them worked, or many of us worked with President Mahama in the 2012 campaign. And let's not forget, we were 4 years younger. 4 years younger. Had 4 years less experience when we won the 2012 campaign with President Mahama. So if 4 years on, 4 years older, expectedly 4 years wiser, 4 years of more experience, we go into an election and we lose, I think it defies some basic logic to assume that's because we're young.
Fine.
I think that it just goes to the point that Ghanaians had made up their mind, they've taken a decision,
that's
and we must respect
it's
it.
It's a fair point. But some say, well, there may not be, I mean, politically and technically speaking, nothing wrong with, you know, giving the young people an opportunity. But something that some of you just did not use the positions you had well. You didn't relate to the party well. You didn't relate to some persons well. People come to the Flagstaff House. They want to see the president. Your attitude, someone. Again, these are all things that we've heard. And you have an opportunity to clear the air on some of these things. You didn't relate to people. Basically, you abused the opportunity that the former president gave some of you. And that is what has cost the former president today. With all the things that people have said about young people surrounding him. I mean, if you were there and you were helping all the young people, you were in touch with the grassroots, you related to people, was much better and all of those things, maybe, and I'm saying just maybe, this matter wouldn't have come up. What's your stake on this matter?
I'll tell you something. The young people who worked around President Mahama, I will not sit here and say we're angels. We had our flaws, myself included. But I believe that we gave the best of ourselves. We did what we had to do. Again, it's easy for, and anytime things like this happen, I mean, when a problem happens in a family, it's the younger ones who always take the flak for it. The senior people always sit back, you know, but I can tell you that many of us were constantly in touch with our senior people, constantly going to them and seeking their advice and their opinion on many of the issues that we took. I mean, I do not want to mention specific names, but I mean, those who you call the godfathers, I mean, they are godfathers. We were always with them. We were always going to them and speaking with them. Oh, uncle, I want to do this. Boss, I want to do this. You know, I mean, you see, you see
that, they want to see the former President Mahama. It's a big problem.
You see, for me, some of these allegations,
and people use the Album Bible statement as a point of reference.
I mean, I call him Father, Honorable Alban Sumana Bagwin, who is the second deputy speaker. I mean, it's possible that he may have come, and I've heard him, I've spoken to him personally, and he's recounted an instance where
Personal experience.
Yeah, I spoke to him personally. He recounted to me an instance where he came to the Flagstaff House and he wanted to see the president, but he was unable to see the president. Unfortunately, I have not been able to speak with the other party in that instance, to get his side of what it is that could have necessitated the inability of the Venerable Alban Sumani Bagmin from seeing the president on that occasion. But it would not be correct to say that for the 4 years that President Mahama was in office, Mr. Alban Sumani Bagmin was not given the opportunity to meet with the president. I think that would be very unfair to make. Out of respect for him, I'll say that I don't even think he himself will make the claim that in the 4 years he never met with the president.
How closely did you work with Stan?
Stan was a colleague. When I started out, when I started out at the Flagstaff House, I worked with him in the communication bureau. Before I was moved out to, I moved out on secondment to the Ministry of Communication. Worked with Dr. Ododomani.
Professional relationship like? Because, and I'm asking because there's a lot of talk about
Is that supposed to be the subject of this?
No, it dovetails into the causes of the defeat, as some have said, which has to do with.
Well, if the suggestion is that Stan is the reason for the defeat, I would categorically debunk that as allegation. And let me put on record, I've worked with Stan Dugbe, and I think that Stan Dugbe is arguably one of the hardest workers you can ever find. I mean, Stan is a workhorse. Okay, his professional ethos are top notch and world class. You can't take that away from him. I mean, Stan is. You see, when you see somebody, and at times I have suffered similar. When you see people who strive for perfection, at times they come off a little as being high-handed, a little as being having their noses up in the air, because I mean there's a certain standard of excellence that they have set for themselves, a certain benchmark, and if you want to lower the bar, they will not tolerate it. And I mean, I've had such instances even in my constituency with the young men who I worked with on my campaign trail. At times, many people think that I'm being too hard. And it's a similar thing with Stan, because there's a certain benchmark, there's a certain standard gold quality you want to see. And if people are not pulling their weight or punching their weight, you tell them as it is and get on with the job. Because the truth of the matter is there's nothing Stan is going to ask you to do that he can't do himself. And so if I am asking you to do it and you're not doing it right, I will step in, push you aside, and get the job done, because the job must be done. Okay? And people just need to understand that the Ghanaian culture where, oh, I mean, oh, where let's move away from that culture. Let's strive for excellence. And for me, on a professional level, I would rate Stan Dugbe any day, any time, highly and world class. I mean, when it comes to the social issues, like I said, we're not all angels, we're not all saints. The days everybody has their off day, and so I mean, if you meet somebody on his off day, and I mean, he passes a remark, but I mean, myself and Stan, there've been instances where he would tell me off, and 30 minutes later, I'm walking past, still thinking at what the hell is wrong with this guy, and he sees me and he puts his hands on my shoulders and is chatting with me like nothing happened. You need to understand who the person is. You need to understand the pressure that he also had to work under. And so for me, when people want to judge people just on their weaknesses, I say that you're not being fair to them. They're human beings. Every human being has his strengths and his weaknesses. Judge them on a fair basis of the collective, the aggregate of their strengths and their weaknesses. If I put Stan on that scale, I think that he comes his weaknesses underway, or his successes or strengths outweigh his weaknesses.
That's fine. You know, the thing about it is you don't speak for Stan.
Absolutely.
So I won't be able to ask any follow-up questions on Stan. But, you know, for me, the issue about the younger folks for the Flagstaff House, and, you know, the whole talk about the fact that some of them have done some damage to the Mahama administration. Indeed, some of the things that we're hearing is that some, you know, the former president has been told that, look, if he wants another opportunity, then do away with the likes of Stan, Sam George, Omani Buama, Felix, and all of those. We've heard all of that. Have you heard it too?
I haven't heard. And I'll tell you what, politics is a game of numbers. I don't think that knowing the senior people, as some of us have come to know them and learn from them, I believe that they are all embracing. I don't believe that any of the true godfathers in the NDC the pillars who brought this party together. In fact, that is why they chose the name of Congress, because they realized that we're not just a party, we're a coming together of people of various persuasions, but simply because there's one common thread that we find between ourselves or amongst us, and that's why we're Congress. And so they appreciate the varying shades of opinions and attributes that we all bring to the table. And so I would not believe for the life of me that they will want to see a vote that may have influence on other votes go away. No. Do we need to realign things? Yes, I agree. We need to realign things. We can't do the same thing. We can't go into the 20 elections with the same attitude, with the same structure, with the same setup as we did in 2016 and expect to win. Because someone has defined madness as doing the same thing the same way over and over again and expecting to get a different result. We need to tweak things. We need to make changes to things. But let me tell you something. Today, the NDC has what is arguably the smallest minority in Parliament in this Fourth Republic. If you look at percentage-wise, we have just about 40% of Parliament, 106 MPs. But I can tell you something, and this you can take on record. Our leader, Haruna Idrisu Honorable, has made the point, and even Honorable Alban Sumani Bagbin, in a personal conversation with him, has made a point that this is arguably the strongest minority he's ever seen, or the best crop of NDC MPs he's ever seen, especially the backbench. 46 new MPs on the NDC side. And if you look at all 46 of us, any of us could pass for a second timer or a third timer. The quality in our backbench equates to what you have in the front. And it always comes to bear in the debates in Parliament, where the leadership is able to move some of the debates to the backbench. Take for example, when the debate on energy comes up, and you have John Jinapo and Edward Barr speaking. These are first timers. At times, you have the likes of Honorable Kwabena Donko and Honorable Kofi Amabua and Adam Mutawakilu sit back and allow the backbench to do the discussion. And you see that they take the NPP to the cleaners. When it comes to education, you have Augustine Donko. Okay, Augustine Tavia, this is somebody who's been a director for several years at the GES. There is quality. We've got numbers of DCEs who have come in, young people who were given an opportunity under Professor Mills and President Mahama. And we've all come into Parliament. When it comes to communication, I hold my own there. Alassane Suhuyini holds his own there. There are a number of us who are bringing a lot of quality. When it comes to health, we've got doctors. In our backbench, Zenato will hold her own against anybody when it comes to medicine. Okay, when it comes to the road sector, at times Honorable Yunus Afuseni sits back because you've got a former regional director who actually became a deputy director of Ghana Highways in our backbench. The quality of the NDC minority comes to show on the debates. Just pick the handsets and read the debates, and you see that blending youth and experience has been a great success story for the NDC. And the NPP is trying to copy it. Look at the appointments. Who would ever have believed that the NPP will make a 34, 35-year-old deputy chief of staff? Who would ever have believed that young people will be made chief executives and ministers and deputy ministers in an NPP government? Previously, when the NPP spoke about young people, they were referring to the likes of Dan Botwe and co. 50 people in their 50s. Today, they're bringing in 30-year-olds. They're copying from the NDC. They're learning and leave from us. They're trying to make sure that they take our own success story and learn from it. Why should we throw it away? We can only make it better. We can't throw it away.
In other words, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, if he ever becomes president, would have to maintain the same young crop of guys that he was working with.
I've maintained the fact that we can't do the same old things the same old way. And let's be careful. Many of the people you call young guys are growing. People refer to Fifi Kwete as a young guy. They forget that
he's an old
but they forget that Fifi's 50. He turned 50 this year.
Yes.
Okay, but they still call him, when they talk about babies with sharp teeth and babies, they still refer to Fifi. So do not forget that by 2020, the people you're calling small boys, I came into government in
36 by then.
Exactly. I came into government at around 24, 25. Okay. Some other young man will come in at that age. Okay. Let us have a fine blend of youth and experience, which is what this government, the last government tried to do. We will get better at it. You only get better at things when you keep committing yourself to it. If you keep changing and throwing out and changing and throwing out and changing, and you keep going around in circles and going nowhere. But when you stick to a certain path and you refine it, you look at what the flaws were and you work on those flaws and strengthen them and add them to the old strengths of the existing system, you have a better functional system. And so for me, I believe that going forward, all the NDC has to do is to look at how well we can make our system that we have much better.
I don't know how have you been monitoring obviously you have been names that are already popping up expressing interest in leading the NDCs. It's Professor Joshua Alabi, that Sylvester Mensa, Addos Sutley or Sapalimali has mentioned that he's interested. You know, this Dr. Akuffo Gabra. What do you make of it?
I'll be frank with you. I mean, when I hear the names that are making the rounds as wanting to contest for the flag bearership of the NDC, it makes me happy to be a member of the NDC. Because, I mean, any of the gentlemen whose names you've mentioned here will make a fantastic president. Fantastic president. I mean, Professor Joshua Alabi took IPS as it was at the time and has transformed it into UPSA. As we speak at the moment, the UPSA is one of the few public universities that is off government subvention. The almighty University of Ghana still is on government subvention. I mean, so that is a success story of somebody like Professor Joshua Alabi. Sylvester Mensa took over a national health insurance scheme that was not being well patronized, has really expanded the scheme, and he was able to keep it afloat with all of its challenges, irrespective of that thorough studies that had been done years before he was appointed. That pointed to the fact that by 2010, the scheme will collapse. He was able to keep it afloat all the way till 2016. It tells you that this is somebody who has skill in managing difficult positions and difficult situations. Ghana would need somebody like that to lead this country in the difficult times we are in. If you take Alban Subani Bagbin, the Venerable, I mean, for him, I could go on and on. He's the only 7-time member of Parliament. He's an institution of governance in himself. I mean, he's cut across various sectors: Minister for Works, Minister for Health. He's seen it all. He's been there. He's been minority, majority, minority leader. I mean, so he's seen it all.
All of them are qualified.
Akuffo Gaba saw the revamping of the Commander Sugar Factory. Fantastic people. Okay, and so I have no problem with all the names spanning out. However, going into 2020, I believe that there is not irrespective of whoever the Congress of the NDC in 2018 will bring up as our flag bearer, you cannot discount the fact that the campaign will be run on the back of the achievements of President John Dramani Mahama.
And should
and as far as that's a personal decision for him to take. If JDM throws his heart into the race, I think that nobody's going to be a match for him.
Really?
Absolutely.
The party folks will like him.
GM is loved. I mean, he is, and if you speak to even the other candidates,
that's because he's broken hearts.
Look, JM is an enigma. You even if you hate him, you love to hate him. So there is love in there, and you cannot just hate JM. JM.
No, he's not a spokesperson for the president. So I won't allow him to go on and on.
Oh no, but I'm just trying to. Let me land. Let me land. If you give me 30 seconds to land, I think that as a party, looking at 2020 and from where I sit, if JM takes the decision to run, I think it will be in the best interest of the party. And I think that he will be the best candidate going into 2020. However, if JM decides to sit back, JM is going to be one of the main pillars that will drive a successful campaign for 2020. So whether he runs or he doesn't run, you cannot discount the fact that JM today is a central pillar, coupled with our former president, President Rawlings, who will drive a successful NDC campaign. If GM chooses to run, it'll be the best news I've heard.
Let me read some of the messages that have come through so far. It's 20 minutes past 7. In case you just joined us, I'm talking to Sam George. Honorable Sam George is the Member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram Pram constituency. I'll be finding out from him how his relationship with E.T. Mensa is. There's lots of talk about unity within this constituency. We know the acrimony that sort of characterizes his journey to Parliament, and we want to find out whether if unity talks or whether unity between himself and E.T. Mensa is ever possible, and all of that. But let me read some of the messages that have come through, and then we'll come back to that briefly, and then we can take your calls on 0302 20 80 80. Now, this one said, does it matter? Oh, sorry. This one said, does it matter who lobbied for the construction of the school? There's a school there, and I think that's the most important thing. Joanna Posu sends us a tweet that's #ClassEBS. And Sami Bwedi says, Ajasafu only said she lobbied for the school to be built, and the evidence proves it. Again, that's a tweet from Sami Bwedu. Clement Imamobi says, good morning. Can you please kindly ask Sam George if he can kindly petition Parliament on the bust issue? That's come from Clement in Mamobi. And this one says, hi Moro, good morning. The issue we the young people in the party have raised has nothing to do with Sam George. Sam George is a fantastic guy, but I can't say the same with Dr. Manibu Amastandogbe and Felix Ofosokwachi. Their human relations is very poor. That's according to Nimayi or something. I don't know what the pronunciation of his name is. So Sam George, I'm told that as for you, they don't have any issues with you, but they have issues with some names. This one says NDC should stop exhibiting the propaganda and incompetence in the opposition. The halabaloo of Honorable Justice Afena Kujetu is baseless. Most important is the good people or what the good people of the area are benefiting. Since we took over, NDC and the propagandists are going gaga. That's coming from Sami Bwachi of Samankes, who sends a message. This one's a good morning, Moro. Great job there. You are with the right person. Honorable Sam George, good listening to you. Titi Okanse in Ada sends that message. You know him? You know Titi Okanse?
Possibly. Ada is a neighboring constituency. So
right. So it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
All right. Good morning. I am a retired Ghanaian who was relocated to New Ningo as my final home in 2005. Among the decisions for my choice was the good road network at the time. It was a constant and periodic sight to see road maintenance works on the stretch from the main Pram Pram road, which helped driving and barely kept accidents from occurring. Now, that was during the era of his former boss, Honorable E.T. Mensa. Ever since then, Pram Pram Road has been in bad state and continued to worsen, and had resulted in frequent fatal road accidents. What has Sam George done to reminisce the joy Pram Pram has for good road network? He should rather be up with what he has to do to better the lives of the massive support the youth of Ningo Pram Pram gave him. Apparently, nothing has been done in the constituency since his election into office. He should please be concerned with his home than to speak as if he's in control of his territory. Thanks, FM at New Ningo. He talks about some roads that have been done, and that's not happening again. Good morning, Moro. God forbid, but if NDC falls 10 times, we'll never get fed up with JM. They should allow him to campaign on his own legacy. Ibrahim Dorsey in Tema, he sends that message. And this one says that good morning, Moro. Please kindly ask Sam George if you can. Okay, that's about the petition in Parliament. So, Sam George, you may want to respond to some of the messages that have come through.
Like I said, I believe in the principle of a collective responsibility, and so I believe that myself and all my other colleagues, we discharged ourselves and distinguished ourselves in our service to party and nation, and we will continue to do that in whatever capacity that the party or the government, if we come back into government, finds for us. On the issue of roads, the name came as FM. I don't know who that is, but I need to state for the records, and you can send your reporters there that the suggestion by FM is false and untrue. Currently, we have close to, and that was just before the transition. I mean, after the primaries and all of that, we got asphalt works done in Pram Pram. And so if anybody is saying that the roads in Pram Pram are bad, because that's what the text said, it said Pram Pram, that's absolutely false. Okay, there's solid asphalt road network from Pram Pram all the way to New Ningo. He says he's a resident in New Ningo. In fact, the road from Pram Pram to New Ningo is one of the best you find in the country. It's fully asphalted. Okay, about 14 kilometers of asphalt work was done there. Okay, and so that is incorrect. Where we have challenges is from Old Lingo all the way through Lekpouno to Ekumagben, ending up in Nanyamam in the Sege constituency. That road has been given on contract. The contractor is on the road. What we're having challenges now with is with government payments for the contractor. That's something that we're chasing. And if FM, at times the constituency is big, so if it's only in New Ningo, he may not know what's going on. But just last Friday, I was privileged to have the Minister for Roads, Honorable Amako Atta, visit me in the constituency. In fact, we went to the constituency together. We inspected roads, the Apollonia New Jerusalem Road, which has been nicknamed the Galamsey Road because Honorable Peter Amewu lives in that community. We went there, we inspected that road. The minister has given specific instructions on how the way forward for that road. From there, we went to the Afenya-Dowenya Road, which is a major problem. But anybody who applies that road also will see that the contractor, Simin Ghana, is beginning to do a lot of work on that road. We stopped in Dowenya, where the minister looked at the road. We discussed, and the minister didn't come alone. The minister came with the chief executive of the Ghana Highways Authority, the director of urban roads, Mr. Victor Wusu, Ghana Highways, and then Alhaji Abbas. The deputy minister who's in charge of Greater Accra, Honorable Anthony Abai Fakabo, was there. And so when anyone wants to make the suggestion that nothing has happened, it's incorrect. And I would just ask that if the person has any challenges, they should get in touch and ask what will be done. Anyway, in the next 3-4 months, in about 2 months' time, when we're on recess from Parliament, we will be holding community meetings where I will be recounting to the people or accounting to the people, because as part of my campaign, it was a promise I made to them that every year during recess from Parliament, once a year, I will hold town hall meetings across the communities. I want to take it to the communities. I don't want to hold one town hall meeting and ask people to come. So we're going to be going to the various communities. When we go to New Ningo, and I'm not going to be calling these meetings, I'm working with the traditional authorities. The chief of New Ningo will call a meeting so that it is not a partisan thing. I am MP for both NDC, MPP, CPP, and all the various shades of political opinions in there. The chief calls a meeting, and I will come and address that meeting and account to them. When I come in there, I'm going to let them see what we've done, not just in the area of road networks that he's speaking about. Even though I have still not received one cedi, as my common fund, because no MP has received common fund for this year. The common fund has still not. In fact, we're still deliberating the formula and looking at passing. We just passed the formula, I think, sometime early last week. And so we're hoping for disbursement. But irrespective of that, I've successfully been able to ensure that close to 12 constituents in the constituency at the tertiary level have not been thrown out, including master's students. We've paid fees for master's students. We're paying for people to go into tertiary education. And if you talk to anybody who has been an MP before, people who have been in the district assembly thing, they'll tell you. My district coordinating director called me and said, "Hey, Masa, we don't sponsor tertiary education, because of the cost involved, but because education is my heartbeat, irrespective of the cost involved. I'm doing this from my pocket. The receipts are there. We will show it." Okay, to the people, to let them see that these are the things we're doing. I mean, the regular healthcare interventions and all, we're ongoing with that. The advocacy that we're doing for our fishermen, the issue of light fishing is becoming a major issue in my constituency. I've had a bone to pick with the Minister for Fisheries because I think that she's worsening the situation, where she's putting the lives of fishermen at risk, because she's asked some of the fishermen in the constituency to mobilize themselves into a vigilante group and go into the high seas and clamp down on light fishing. The last time they went, there was a clash with some of the fishermen who were carrying out light fishing. Some of the fishermen she mobilized from Pram Pram got hurt and injured. It is not the job of fishermen to become a vigilante force. The minister must be working with the Marine Police and the Navy to clamp down on light fishing. She should not be putting the lives of my constituents at risk. Because what happens if the fishermen from Pram Pram who do not engage in light fishing go into the high seas and meet with other people who are engaging in light fishing and they are armed and they shoot at them? Will she be responsible for their welfare? And I think that is highly responsible on the part of the minister. And so I've been engaging with my fisher folks and trying to ensure to let them know that, look, their welfare is my priority. And so when it comes to my constituency, I'm extremely passionate about it. I've been investing a lot in education, which is one of my, in fact, is my major pillar. I've been dealing very closely with my district director for education, Madam Matilda. We instituted a scholarship fund for the best female student in each of the 53 junior high schools in the constituency, so that at the end of every academic year, the district director of education is going to furnish my office with a list of the best female student in each of the 53 schools, 53 junior high schools, and they will get an MP's bursary to support them as a means of incentive, because teenage pregnancy is on the high in my constituency, because ladies dropping out of school is on the high in the constituency. And so I'm trying to ensure that I keep more girls in the classroom, because it breaks my heart when I go into the constituency and I see 13-year-old girls who have been put in the family way. These are girls who could be in school and become the next member of parliament, become the next nurse, the next teacher, the next bank manager. And so I'm focused on education, and there's a lot of work we're doing in that regard. In the short period that I've been MP, we've been able to secure 2 pickups for the police service in my constituency. You understand me? I've bought a number of motorbikes for the police service to ensure that we improve security in the constituency. And so there's a lot of work we're doing in there. Am I happy with what we've done? No. I'm not happy. I have a whole lot more drive. I wish that the government is going to empower MPs with the release of our common fund, so we can do a lot more for our people.
There's 1 million coming to you soon.
Well, that's a hoax. I mean, don't take the government serious on that. Already, we've been told by the Minister for Special Initiatives, Honorable Howard Kumson, that 70% of that money has been ring-fenced for one district, one factory. So no MP is going to have that money to do anything. The remaining 30% we're hearing is going to also go into projects, government pet projects, like one constituency, one village, one dam, and the sanitation projects that they want to do. So no money is coming to a member of parliament. No MP is receiving any money from government under the $1 million one constituency promise, phantom promise that they made. It is not true. It is false. I wish that money had come, so that I could commit that money to bettering the lives of the people in Ningo and Pram. But absolutely nothing is coming. There's been no engagement with members of parliament by the minister on any roadmap. Because if there's that money, by now MPs should be meeting with us and telling us, this is the roadmap. This is how you're going to be accessing the fund. This is what the fund is available for. Zilch. Nothing. Nada.
Final question. Good morning, Moro. This one is coming from another from Paul, and it says, ask Sam George if all is well at Ningo Pram. Is he very cool with his party executives, with Iti Mensah and Michael Kwete Tete? I think that's the pronunciation? Kwete Tete.
Yeah.
He wants to know if everything is okay.
I have a fantastic working relationship with my party executives. Exactly. I'm not going to play the ostrich and say that there are no individuals who may have issues. I'll come to that. I'll start with the party, come to ET, and then end with the gentleman whose name was mentioned. As far as I'm aware, we went into an election. Like you pointed out, the primaries were a little acrimonious, and clearly people felt that some people took a decision that their loyalty was to an individual and not to the collective party good. And so some of them did stay away from the campaign. Some of them actually engaged campaigning against us, and some engaged in working for the party. And what I did as leader of the party when I became parliamentary candidate was to ensure that in branches where we had some challenges with branch executives not wanting to work for the party, not wanting to campaign for the party, or going out and campaigning on a skirt and blouse issue, we set up a parallel structure of branch members, regular branch members, because in every branch we have a register of branch members. Only 9 of those members are made executives. So in places where we had issues with executives not wanting to campaign for the party, it wasn't about Sam George, it was about the party's candidate. We set up a parallel structure and got branch members to work in those branches. Those branch members who worked in those branches have now become de facto seen by the communities, the people in those branches, as being the party leaders. Now, the party is going to be engaging in a reorganization very soon. The Member of Parliament is absolutely not in charge of the reorganization. The reorganization is done by the constituency executives and supervised by the regional executives. This is in our constitution. No MP has the power to go and do a branch reorganization. It's the constituency executives, and it is led by the elections directorate of the election of the constituency executive body. Now people are beginning to get jittery because they didn't campaign for the party. Other people campaigned for the party. Those people are now being seen in those branches and communities as leaders of the party there, and they're afraid that when they go into the contest, they're going to be overthrown by those people. But, well, I mean, it's going to be an open contest. If you think that you've served your party right, you'll be re-elected. If the people think that those are the very people you went and told to vote, get and blouse.
Right.
If they're not comfortable, they'll change leadership. That has nothing to do with me. When it comes to the Honorable E.T. Mensah, he is the immediate past MP. I respect him as that. Every time we have a program, we try our best to reach out to him. I have done everything humanly possible, and I think that for me, I have no issues with Honorable E.T. Mensah. I can speak for myself. I can't speak for him. But personally, I have no issues with him. On the gentleman who's been mentioned, well, I do not know what role he plays in the NDC, and so I do not know why. I mean, then anybody can mention any.
Is he an NDC?
Well, I cannot tell. I'm aware that in the primaries, he tried to contest in the primaries and he was disqualified by the party. And so we need to seek that clarity from the party. As far as I'm concerned,